first, on News Worth Knowing, President Cyril Ramaphosa signed the Land Expropriation Act bill late last week, kicking off an absolute firestorm of political parties from the DA to the EFF criticizing this new law. And can I just say, do you know how hard it is to anger both the DA and the EFF? It's the political equivalent of outraging both Drake and Kendrick Lamar. Do you know how challenging that is? And by the way, in this thought experiment, we all know who is Drake and who is Kendrick between the DA and the EFF, don't we? I think we do. Already there has been an absolute tsunami of misunderstanding and misinformation about what the Land Expropriation Act actually is and actually does. And we are so lucky that later on in the program tonight, we'll be joined by land reform expert BELA Act to explain exactly what the act is and what it is not. But right now, let's look at the fallout. The DA is arguably the most furious. Minister of Public Works and Infrastructure, Dean McPherson, posted that no land expropriation without compensation would happen under his watch. And then, hilariously, his deputy minister, the ANC's Sihle Zikalala, who used to be the minister but before being relegated to deputy for McPherson under the ANC and DA's government agreement, Zikalala posted a recorded speech on Twitter with the caption, "Ministers take an oath that say that will obey, observe and uphold the laws of South Africa, therefore a minister cannot decide otherwise." Girl! He is subtweeting his boss on Maine. You work for him. And then he went further. Then he posted saying, in South Africa, we have those who were oppressed and those who were oppressors. Those who were oppressors would want to maintain the status quo and frustrate the process of transformation. Are you calling your own boss an apartheid hangover protector? That is exactly what and who he was referring to here. Can you imagine the department's work WhatsApp group this morning? Absolutely tense. The DA has made what they call a formal Government of National Unity dispute in order to reset relations between the Government of National Unity, the GNU partners, by invoking Clause 19 of the GNU Statement of Intent, which states that decisions in the GNU must be taken by sufficient consensus amongst the parties. The problem for the DA is that the GNU Statement of Intent is not a legally binding document. In fact, it's just a glorified Word doc that everyone said sure fine to when forming a government. It's a promise ring more than a prenup, if you know what I mean. It's just like, yeah, these are the vibes, we pinky swear. All the DA is really saying is, we can't believe you've done this, and we may walk out of the GNU over these kinds of actions. And Ramaphosa is calling their bluff, because here's the thing, he has called their bluff before and won. Recently, the BELA Act was signed against the DA's wishes. South Africa's official position on Russia-Ukraine has continued to be, we listen, we don't judge. Even though the DA's position is firmly Ukraine anti-Russia, and South Africa's official position on Israel-Palestine has remained firmly pro-Palestine to the point of continuing their case of genocide against Israel at the International Court of Justice, while the DA's position on Israel-Palestine is still, we listen, we don't judge, and our leaders take photos with Netanyahu. And now the Land Expropriation Act. The only reasonable conclusion to draw is that Ramaphosa is winning the GNU, guys. Whether you support him or you're against him, the simple truth is that he and the ANC are winning the Government of National Unity. John Steenhuisen can say that the DA won't be reduced to spectators in government, all he likes. But haven't they already been reduced to spectators in government? After the election, many people were quick to claim that the DA and others had forced the ANC into a Government of National Unity on their terms. They said the ANC was going to be cut down to size and forced to bend to the will of the rest. And yet, Ramaphosa must have predicted back then that the non-ANC ministers would love their new power and profile. He must have expected that they would love their new influence over government departments and love how they could boost their own prestige and their own reputations of their parties through their ministerial work. Look at how Leon Schreiber at Home Affairs, Dean McPherson in Public Works, Gayton McKenzie in Sports, Arts and Culture, they've all been able to improve their own and their parties' standings. Ramaphosa must have bet that this power would bind the smaller parties into the GNU and stop them from walking away from the ruling coalition. And so far, He's absolutely right. And it's particularly humiliating for the DA because on the two new laws that will infuriate their voters the most, the BELA Act and the Land Expropriation Act, the ministers responsible for enacting those laws are DA ministers. Siviwe Kgarube of Education and Dean McPherson of Public Works. Ramaphosa is winning.